looking at Section 2 of Chapter 3, specifically with the Declaration of Independence and our component in our study of the Revolutionary War. The objective has been provided there. It is the same objective from yesterday, so we're going to keep building on that. There will be a list provided today that will help you all complete each sector, military, political, and economic advantages, disadvantages for both parties involved. Today's outline, document C, we're about to go over that, guided notes, objective review. Homework, don't forget, and a lot of this is just rolling. Don't forget, the 13th, which is Monday next week, we have a test. Okay, it is on a Monday. I don't like doing that, but that's how it fell with sequencing this time. So that is on Monday the 13th. Revolutionary Report presentation days are the 20th and 21st, which is the following Monday and Tuesday. You will have the remainder of next week, Tuesday through Friday, to work on your project. Don't rely on Friday as far as moving around the building too much, though, because the blood drive will now be down there. So that's our situation. That's the long-term forecast for the class, and then we'll move forward. Document C. As always, contents provided. Now, with this document, there are multiple avenues that you could have pursued as far as your content. You could have went Pennsylvania packet. That's where the information has been provided. You could have your year for another point. Franklin Rowe Diary of the Revolution. That's where the parent document is located. Okay, so the Pennsylvania packet, the segment we're referencing, which is that's where it comes from. But the Diary of the American Revolution would be the edited source that you could see this from. It would be like if you're referencing a quote in an encyclopedia. The quote belongs to the actual individual who said it, but you located it in the encyclopedia. That's what you're looking at up there. That being said, context. What are we looking at here?
Well, like it's just trying to like I thought like warn them of like what could happen if you stay with the king.
Okay, so we have the X message equals warning. Now, what is our evidence to support this?
Oh, dude, it says wretch who wishes to see you fettered with the chains of tyranny. That's what that's me.
Okay. What is when we're looking at tyranny here? What are we really describing?
Tyranny is like a dictator, like a tyrant.
Okay, an authoritative, an abusive power, be it a government or an autocrat, for example, an absolute monarch, pharaoh, dictator, czar, etc. Okay, we're looking at the abuse of power here. So you could have that this document is serving as a warning to who do we believe it to be serving for?
Citizens.
The citizens of the United States, the colonists specifically. Warning to the colonists about the abuses of the government should we lose this war. Okay, that's a big, heavy idea. Make sure you have that down. It's a forecasted warning. Should we lose this war, we will still be under the power of a tyrannical government. Okay, and obviously, should you have lost the revolution, those powers would have been exacerbated. They would have become much more heinous in nature. Okay, what else do we have here? There's a strong message in the very first sentence. Go ahead.
I said pace by the diction. Like, it wants us to, like, hurry up. I guess act quicker. When it says awake, no time is to be lost, and instantly.
Okay, good. Good. So we're looking primarily at the diction here. So, like the student is saying, that this is a we need to take action now component. Okay, the longer we wait, the longer that we just sit aside and hope our military survives, or we hope that this protracted war we eventually have to surrender by the crown. The longer we wait, the more likely we are to lose. We need assistance now, sir.
When it says awake Americans, the sense your danger, it's basically saying open your eyes, like realize what's going on. If we lose, like realize what's going to happen if we lose this war.
Absolutely. Okay. It's like take action now is the message we're having here. Now, we're going to stick up here in the first sentence here. Tory. Okay. One thing I want you to have, and you might want to write this down. This is not referencing just Parliament and the Crown. This is referencing those who are in the colonies and still loyal. Okay. Because you all are familiar that a loyalist is a Tory, yes? Yes. They're interchangeable, okay? Which the irony of a school district in our conference here, we won't name the name for the sake of the screencast, but their mascot used to be the Tories, and now they're the Patriots. Did you ever catch that?
How's that? How do you?
Yeah, they switched Revolutionary War allegiances there.
Yeah, how do you?
Love it. Anyways. That being said here, what else do we have for contextual messages? We have 2 going so far. So X equals, what's our third? You always need at least 3.
Oh.
Sir?
Hatred by let them drag out a painful life.
Okay. Evidence, diction here, let them drag out a painful life. Despise and accurse those, the very men who cause, they have the wickedness to expose. Look at the diction there. That is eloquent hatred. Okay? That is a beautiful way to say that they are the scourge of society.
Let them drink the cup of slavery and eat the bread of bitterness as well.
This is a big one, so I'm going to change our options here to highlighter. Let them drink the cup of slavery and eat the bread of bitterness all the days of their existence. Okay? Not only do we despise their existence in the colonies, not only do we turn our cheek to their existence, we want them to feel exactly what we have felt under the abusive nature of Parliament and the good king. Okay? We want them to experience what it is like to struggle. We want them to experience what it is like to live a life of intimidation, to fear their existence in the colonies. We want them to enjoy, in our mind, enjoy that lifestyle because of what the conditions they have plunged us into. Boom! Okay? Look at how well this is written. All right? This is ironic, but beautiful hatred. Okay? Obviously, if we use Shakespeare here, do you bite your thumb at me, sir? Okay? Or in contemporary society, you could use a component of sign language. Okay? But this is a beautiful way to say, you are the problem. You shall no longer exist in our colonies. Excellent job, all of you. That being said, let's move to critique. Author and author credibility.
I said the author was via Kennedy, so I figured it was someone with the last name Kennedy.
Your author's Frank Moore. Okay? Now, hold on. Via Kennedy, The American Spirit, page 165. Again, this would be like we're reading the work of Frank Moore. Okay? His work, The Diary of the American Revolution, occurs in the Pennsylvania packet, which has been provided to you all, the edited source, The American Spirit, page 165. Okay, so you have to break it down like you just completed a citation on Citation Machine. Where you actually found your information is The American Spirit on page 165. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Kennedy is what to this document then? Here's your author. Moore's your author. So what does that make Kennedy? Starts with E. The editor. Very good. He's the editor of The American Spirit. Does that make sense? Okay. It would be like you're reading a book of a collection of arguments and you're referencing Shakespeare. Shakespeare would be your author, but let's say it's my book. I put Shakespeare's work in there to get a point across. I'm the editor. Okay, so let's look at it like that. Okay, so that being said, now we know Frank Moore. It has also been provided in Kennedy. What do you guys think as far as credibility?
Good.
Okay, I would argue sound. Sound credibility for a few reasons here. Number one, look at the diction. This individual he's an academic. He has a way with words. He is passionate, absolutely. He's an academic, like I said, has a way with words. And another component here, it's been provided in the edited source as well. Okay, so there's a reason that it keeps reappearing due to its utility. Intended audience.
People. Citizens of the United States.
Citizens of the United States, colonists. You could have citizens during the war effort, patriot forces, colonists of the 13 colonies. You could go a contemporary direction here if you want to and say it's an edited source, so you could have students of U.S. history if you wanted to. But if you want to say time period specific, colonists of the 13 colonies. Then credibility as a whole.
Well, it's kind of biased towards...
It's biased towards the Loyalists. It's biased towards those Tories, absolutely. Okay, we don't know if there are any positives that they're actually providing in the 13 colonies. We know they are because a lot of these are wealthy businessmen. But we can see, though, that it is biased. It is argumentative. It doesn't represent a counter-argument. So you can say credibility limited, severely biased due to diction. Okay? Credibility limited, severely biased due to diction. Now, this is where some of you lose those points. You say credibility equals limited and then never explain due to the diction or the presentation of the argument. And that's where that other point comes in. Any questions? Super. Here we go. Notes, Declaration of Independence, June 1776. We're going to go ahead and look at the idea of we must declare independence. That being said, committee established to include John Adams and Ben Franklin. Again, you might not need to do anything with the names here, but anytime a name appears, I would underline it or highlight it if you're a highlighting person. Okay, to write a draft declaring the sentiment and justifications for declaring sovereignty. That's our goal. That's the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson, we know him, brilliant writer, politician, founding father, president, etc., etc. Yes, he owns a lot of slaves, so moral compass. You got to remember, though, that's the existence of life during that time. Given the task of writing the document to be edited by the committee. Okay, so it's being edited by a group of individuals, but nonetheless, he is the penman, he is the author. Okay? Influenced by Enlightenment philosophers of his day whose ideas can be found in the document he presented. Who are we really looking at here? There are two major Enlightenment philosophers that are going to inspire this document.
Can I take a shot?
Please.
If it might be wrong. John Locke.
John Locke's the first one. Okay? Lockean theory, natural rights, preservation of your natural rights. There's one more.
Hobbes.
Hobbes, not so much. We'll put him up here, though. Okay?
Montesquieu.
Montesquieu, he's the other one. Montesquieu, those are your three individuals, primarily the outward ones with Locke and Montesquieu, as far as natural rights, representation, etc., etc. That being said, July 4th, 1776, Declaration of Independence formally approved by Congress, hence, 4th of July. I would appreciate that you all refer to it as Independence Day over just the 4th of July, because you could celebrate the 5th of November. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
But if you celebrate Independence Day, you've elevated the magnitude of the event. Take respect in the direction of your country, because now we've declared it to be sovereign. Continuing forward here. First part includes the preamble. We're familiar with this. You could sing it. You could talk about it. We're not going to go over it, though. Preservation of basic natural laws and rights. What are your basic natural rights? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The traditional drafting of that, in accordance to Lockean theory, is life, liberty, and property. Very good. Okay, but nonetheless, it's still LLP. So make sure you always study it like that. Life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness. You might want to circle the P because it could be one or the other, depending on the time period and the document that you're analyzing. LLP. All right. Continuing forward. John Locke's thoughts on the social contract articulated in his two treatises of government, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract. Okay? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. What are we referencing there? Let's freeze. All men are created equal. During this time period, all men are created equal. Is that factual?
No.
No, because
Slaves are not
Slavery, minority groups, all men, ladies, you're not even mentioned yet. But if you just eliminate that backwards thought there, that mindset, and go men in the context of mankind, because again, it's still labeled mankind, but it's humanity. Okay? Technically should be all-encompassing, but we know through our historical study that it will not be for quite some time. That they are endowed with their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Creator with certain inalienable rights. Who's their Creator? Does it specify that?
No.
Okay, that's a heavy thing to consider because a lot of the study of U.S. history features a religious component, and naturally so. But nonetheless here, we have just Creator. Okay? Now one thing I want you to consider, maybe at home you've heard people talk about this, your friends saying, well, we were founded on Christianity, thus Christianity, etc., etc. You just look at it like this, it only states Creator. Does not say Christian God, does not say Allah, does not say Yahweh, does not say Muhammad or anyone else, okay? It just says Creator. So, religious freedom, this is and you might want to write this on the side, this is a heavy indicator of pure, unadulterated religious freedom. Okay? Even before we needed a Bill of Rights with the Constitution, with the Articles of Confederation, in our Declaration of Independence, we have a component of religious freedom. Now, it's not heavily emphasized, absolutely not. It's just saying Creator. Okay? Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, LLP, either pursuit of happiness or property. Second part, we're addressing the abuses and usurpations by the king and his government. Basically, here's what you did wrong and why we're leaving, why we are out. Okay, you have an argument with a significant other or a good friend, you're not talking to them for the following reasons. Okay, is the exact way you should approach this. Maltreatment and violated the social contract the British monarch had with his colonies. What does that mean? What is the social contract? Let's freeze there. That's a fundamental government idea. A social contract.
It's like an
Exactly. The government is giving you protection, giving you resources because you are paying taxes. Does that make something? Make sense? Absolutely. It's what the government is based off of. You get this when you provide us with this. Well, if you just think of it like that, you give the parliament taxes, what are they giving back? What is the most important thing we want?
Oh,
security provided, the military is there. We want this. They say we have virtual, but we want actual.
Representation.
Representation. Very good. That's the most important argument they have for violation of the social contract. Okay? Final section, Declaration of War. Most people say Declaration of Independence, and they don't really consider it. This is a beautifully written, here's why we're going to war. Okay, that is a declaration of war. So, Independence Day, Declaration of War Day, if you want to look at it like that. America Day. Okay, here's why we're going to war. Continuing forward. Even before signing the Declaration of Independence, Second Continental Congress appointed a committee to draft the Articles of Confederation. Now, are they effective?
No.
No. There are multiple gaps with the Articles of Confederation. Look at the third word in that, confederation. Confederacies fail far faster than any republic. Okay, now, historically speaking, all republics fail as well. Okay, due to size, due to domestic factors. Now, I'm not forecasting anything involving the United States, but give me a long-lasting republic. Okay, the longest-lasting one was probably your Roman Republic.
Yep.
What happened to it? Domestic issues, foreign invasions, they collapsed.
Yep.
Okay? But, nonetheless, this is what we're looking at here with APUSH. Now, here's where we're going to work on your objectives. Okay, so take note of these. On things, you might want to star things you'd like to place in your objectives. It's all going to be up here, but you only need your certain points available in your objective. Military phase of the war, the British. So this is all the British has going on, good and bad. Advantages, population. You just have to write population in your objective. Okay?
Not even large.
Not even larger, because obviously if you're arguing that's an advantage to the British, I know that's a disadvantage to the colonists for obvious reasons. Okay? Possess considerable financial resources. They have colonies everywhere. Okay? The statement the sun never sets on the British Empire is what we're looking at here. The Americans do not have that. Okay? Well-trained and experienced fighting force. They're number one. Okay? They are the Florida State of contemporary times in football. Royal Navy controlled the seas. They have the number one Navy. Okay? But one thing I want you to consider that this is an economic advantage. This one right here is an economic. So when you're looking at your objective as far as providing an economic advantage, their Navy controls all maritime trade. We have to attempt to stop that. Okay?
You can only use it for one of them, right? Though if we use
Right,
the Navy
right,
for
right.
military, you can't use it for economic.
Right, but like right here, you're going to experience a fight force, so you can switch that easily. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're not interchangeable. You have to stick with one on a certain category. Native American tribes alliances, because they do not want westward expansion. You've rallied all Native American forces. Think of the multiple front war we've just created. We know that Benedict Arnold, we have concerns with Canada to the north. The Atlantic front with the Navy coming across from Europe. Now we have the frontier involving Native American tribes against the U.S. colonists. We have to get foreign intervention on our behalf, which the French will provide for us. Tories and Loyalists. Again, these are domestic social problems. So when you're looking at your objective, domestic and social issues, there are people within our own country that do not want freedom or do not want to declare independence. Okay, so look at all of your fronts here. You have Canada, you have the Atlantic, you have the Native Americans, you have Loyalist Tories. Okay, this is a four-front war. Now, militaristically speaking, you only really have two theaters there, But you're looking at 4 total factors that are going to contribute to our war effort. Okay? Black American slaves offered freedom. Boom, we've just added a 5th. How gloomy does this war look? Completely. Okay? Disadvantages. They do have some bad things. They have a global empire and thus have European enemies. Yes. The enemy's enemy is our friend. Okay? European enemies. European style of fighting, that volley warfare component, I'm going to write V warfare, VW, doesn't work in the wilderness. Okay? You require what to use volley warfare? What do you need?
Open area.
You need an open area. You need a field. Okay? Here we have, and again, if you ever watched America the Story of Us, the History Channel presentation, they constantly keep saying the ragtag group of Americans. You have frontiersmen that are hiding in the woods, that are hiding in the trees and bushes, and have no quarrels with shooting a general as he walks by. They're not used to that. That is dishonorable. Okay? Continuing forward. Considerable logistical problems, communication and trade. Atlantic Ocean. Okay, if they need more troops from England, it's going to take weeks. If they need more munitions from England, or even if they have alliances in Europe, it's going to take weeks. So that's why when we cover battles, one of the primary objectives of the British military is to take what the Americans have. That alleviates that issue. The only way they can win is to crush Washington. All right? Any questions thus far? Excellent. We're going to go to the Patriot forces now. So colonial advantages. They have cause. They have the will to fight. Okay, so they have a psychological. This is probably the most important one of the whole list of advantages. They have the want. They have the will. Okay, it's 4th quarter. They have the drive. They need to win this. Britain just has to defend what is going on. We are the aggressor. Okay? Excellent generals. Washington, familiar with them, Kosciuszko and Pulaski of Poland. Again, foreign powers. Baron von Steuben from Germany. Lafayette from France. He's going to be huge as an admiral on the high seas. French intervention will save us. And it's going to require Saratoga to get it. Alright? Continuing forward. Guerrilla warfare. Like I said, Patriot forces, we don't fight. Primarily speaking, we do not fight like European armies. We have no issues with, we'll say, like backwoods. Okay, we have no issues with that mentality and fighting in a way that is so radically different from the Europeans. All right. Received financial support from France. Benefited from military intervention after 1778. You're going to write Saratoga there. Okay. They need to see that they can, if they become intervened in this, if they become involved, the French need to see that it's going to work. All right. We use Shark Tank so many times in this class. For example, a Shark Tank here. When someone is presenting, here's what I need. I need $100,000. I'll give you 15% of my company. This is my product, blah, blah, blah. What is the first thing they ask? All right, well, show us your numbers. What are your sales? Okay. How has this been working? Well, over the last couple of years, I've sold $3 million in product, pure profit. Yeah, I'm interested. Let's go to work. Or you can say, well, actually, I haven't sold anything yet. Okay, I'm out. See you later. That's what the French need to see, is that on the battlefield, the Patriot forces are successful. A protracted war. What does that mean? This is the hope. A protracted war. The Patriots want this.
Would it be them retreat? Would be the British retreating, or stretching out
Expanding?
on a lot of land?
A long war.
Oh.
Okay, we want this war to last as long as possible. Why? Because of the Atlantic Ocean. It eventually will become too costly for the British to stay involved. Does that make sense? One of the big issues, the Big 12 football conference, when they brought in West Virginia. Okay, if you go with Baylor, I believe Waco, Texas, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Baylor to West Virginia. Okay? Or, for example, the Big 10 conference, Nebraska all the way over to New Jersey for Rutgers. Okay, you're not going to get a large fan base that is going to travel that great distance to go watch a game at Rutgers. You're not going to get that traveling crew, and it's going to cost the university a lot of money. Okay, that's the big concern when you see, and when you guys all have seen the super conferences being created. Distance is a huge factor. Okay, the University of Washington all the way down to Arizona State. That's a huge distance. Okay? So, think of it like that, and that's what our goal is here too. And I want to try to make this as sports-related, theater-related, and everything else so it makes sense. Okay? Colonial disadvantages. We have a smaller army. Small and inexperienced army. Continental Congress has no political authority to tax. Without that, where are you getting money to fund your army? Is the ongoing question. If we have no authority to tax because the AOC doesn't grant that, okay? If you do not have that ability, hopefully you get some donations. Okay, this is why we're trying to raise patriotic fervor. Fight for the cause. Donate. Most Americans were loyalists. Those holding wealth, at least. Most of them don't want to fight the war anyway. Now you're dealing with that. Continental Army suffered from lack of supplies. That all relates to this right up here. No authority to tax. We don't have the ability to purchase you food, shelter, tents, clothing. Which is why when we talk about Valley Forge, and Washington basically just keeps saying, stick with us. Okay, stick with us this winter. It sucks. It's difficult, yes. Remember the cause. All right? All that was free. All right, trying to rally those forces. Any questions so far? You'll be able to knock out this objective now. Okay? As with their fellow Americans are vulnerable to war weariness. Again, we're going to have Valley Forge as your example there. Okay, the winter at Valley Forge is iconic to this Revolutionary War. Without that inspiration, maybe we wouldn't have won this. Any questions? Super. That is the end of the class. Thank you very much. You all did a great job.
APUSH wide.